Hello everyone, this is Abdul Khan from Corsix Online. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't forget to like this video. I'm bringing the series of videos on microservices and service fabric. There's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding, and sometimes it's very difficult to learn. I saw a couple of videos online and articles which are very there's a lot of explanation on the microservices, but less practical. So my whole idea is that I quickly give you some overview and provide you basic concept on microservices and service fabric, so which you can understand very quickly. You don't need to go and read a lot of articles and videos and to spend a lot of time to get grip on microservices. So this short videos series of videos help you to understand very quickly to get grip on microservices and service fabric. So in this series of video, I'm going to discuss with you what are the microservices, what are the monolithic architecture is, and what is the comparison between both these approaches, and why we choose microservice over monolithic approach. And after that, I'm going to show you very small microservice demo using Service Fabric and Visual Studio 2017, and giving you after that I'm giving you some overview and introduction on Service Fabric. What is a Service Fabric is, uh, what is the Service Fabric infrastructure offer you, what is the Service Fabric application model offer you when you're going to create a microservices. So let's jump into the first slide. What is the microservice architecture? Okay, there's no official definition provided anywhere on microservices, but there's some definition I found uh, are these. Number one, at its simplest, the microservice design approach is about a decoupled federation of services with independent scale and change to each and agreed upon standard for communication. Another description coined for design with a microservice approach, which are fine-grained service-oriented architecture. And the best definition, I think, is and very easy to understand, is microservice architecture allow a big application to divide into small, loosely coupled services. Okay, so what is a microservice exactly is, in my point of view? Basically, you have application, for example, e-commerce application, which you have a functionalities like catalogs where the user can go and see their products, their prices and description. You have another functionality of uh, basket, like people can add their products into the basket. You have another functionality to check out, and you have another functionality in the final stage is the payment thing. So basically, all in normal scenario, like we put all this functionality and put on the one place, and uh, which is of course on the server and deploy on the IIS. So what microservice approach is, basically it's allow you to decompose your all these functionality into small component which we call services. For example, catalog uh, become a one service, basket going to be another service, checkout going to be another service, payment going to be another service. So, and of course there's another service, authentication, like people can log in and get a registration. So all this, everything in microservice going to be a smaller component. Once you divided all this functionality into small components, is going to be managed independently, it's going to be scaled independently, it's going to be deployed independently, and it's going to be scaled independently. So this is the actual microservices is, in the easiest way. So there's some also following characteristics of microservice which are widely agreed upon. Number one is encapsulate a customer or business scenario. So what is the problem you are solving? For example, here you're just trying to solve uh, the list of catalogs. So you just focusing on that catalog thing. Number two, developed by a small engineering team. So basically, every there's a possibility like there's only one team that going to be develop each and every functionality, or maybe there's for every function services or every component in microservice have a different team or small team or a small agile team. Number three, number third characteristic is that you can write or choose any programming language or any framework for your service. Number four, consists of code and state, both of which are independently version deployed and scaled. Yes. Interact with other microservice well-defined interface and protocol, have unique name URL used to resolve their location, remain consistent and available in the presence of failure. So these are the some characteristic of microservices architecture or microservice approach. So this is the whole overview of the microservice architecture. At the same time we understanding of microservices, we also understand the current architecture we are commonly use and commonly pick for our projects, which is monolithic architecture. Basically monolithic architecture is not a new term. We basically for few it is a new term, but they are already working on monolithic architecture, so monolithic approach. Monolithic architecture is also known as like a layered architecture, which so now you can understand what is the monolithic architecture. If you understand layer architecture or tier architecture and tier architecture, you know the so it's the same thing basically. In monolithic architecture or tier architecture, basically every functionality I have divided into different tiers. So for example, presentation go in the presentation layer, logic tier go in the logic layer, data tier will be in the data tier. So basically tier is nothing is but servers, so, or machine, client machine. So for example, there's you have a web application. So presentation layer is your UI interface. So client or user can interact with your user interface from their browser, and they send a request to the logic tier. So logic tier is basically sit on some other server, and if it is a web application of course, and there's a data tier. So basically data tier is nothing but your database, persistent database, persistent storage like SQL, Oracle, whatever. So it will go in a same flow. So user send a request from their browser, it goes to logic tier, is do some computation, computing, do some business logic if they need a request data, or uh, send the data to database. So it will go send a request further to data tier, and it will store or get the data, come back to logic tier, and then come back send a response back to the presentation tier. So this is the moderate architecture, which is most of the project develop on this architecture currently. So what are the basically, if and most of the project is working fine, I mean they're successful, they're going very well. So what problem we are facing, that we are going to adopt the microservices, and uh, what problem we are solving in microservices which cannot uh, which are not easy to solve in monolithic architecture. So let's see in the next slide. So there's a very three different uh, points to compare with from monolithic architecture and microservices. In monolithic, number one, like that into the time goes, the monolithic architecture going grow, and it's very difficult to manage. So for example, after 5 years 6 year, you know that people comes and go, new teams comes in, So the new teams comes in, they go and to change anything, to maintain anything, or adding the new functionality. There's a very big chunk of code they need to read, they need to understand. uh, so it's not easy. So when they're going to do that one, there's a possibility that they're going to break another thing. So this is the one of the main uh, disadvantage of modern architecture. To solve this one, microservice solving this one in the way like you are, every functionality is decomposed in a small component or services. Like I said, the example I gave you already for e-commerce one, like uh, a catalog have their own service, or uh, basket or order or payment, they have all one. So if I want, as a new team, as a new developer, I join the company and I want, the business asks me to change something, or adding a new functionality in the payment, they won't ask me to go and add another payment gateway. So in microservice it's very easy. I go in a microservice, on the payment services, and adding the new gateway and test it and deploy it. So it not going to break my functionality to other services. Easy peasy. The second thing is the deployment. In the monolithic, even very small change of any functionality or any components or any tier is going to be deployed the whole project. So this is going to be the problem, uh, because this can be causing maybe build issues or maybe breaking other functionalities, because there's a possibility like number of people are working and they are checking in the continuous integration and continuous deployment. So there's a problem, they can break anything, or there's a build issues, uh, and so the main problem in the monolithic, like even a small change, even small text change going to deploy the whole project, and it may be possibility that it can break anything. In microservices, you are going to deploy simple. You're going to deploy your service independently in isolated environment. For example, like if when I adding a new payment gateway in a payment service, I don't need to deploy whole project or other service. I'm only going to deploy my payment service independently. Easy peasy. Third and best feature in the microservices, scaling. Scaling, like I said, like a deployment, like we go deployment the service independently, the same way we're going to scale the our services independently in isolated. For example, payment services have a lot of requests and a lot of traffic there. So I can go and I can scale it, or scale out or scale up that's payment services independently without touching any other service. In monolithic, you can say that because it's a function with a product, one project. If I want to scale it, so it's going to scale the whole application. So yeah, so these are the main 3 points which we can choose microservice on monolithic, and because of these three advantages, more and more people and more companies moving into microservices architecture. Okay, so there's a comparison between application development approaches on monolithic application approach and Microsoft application approach. So here on your left, you can see the microservice application approach. Uh, like monolithic app contain domain specific functionality and normally divided by function layers such as web, business, and data. In number two, basically you can see that you can scale a monolithic app by cloning it on multiple servers, virtual machine, or containers. So you can see that the same one app divided into three, same one app scale into three different server. So basically same app, same application, and it's of course behind the load balancing or something. But on the other hand, on the right side, you can see that number three, the microservice application separate functionality into separate smaller services. And here, microservice approach is scale out by deploying each service independently, creating instance of these service across server, virtual machine, or container. So maybe this is possible. For example, see, this is the app one, this is app two. This, for example, this is a one service. For example, red one, I say, assuming payment service. So you can see when you're going to scale. So this is possible, like you can scale out on this machine, and this machine. That's it. Because payment service, I say that is more more important for us, so we can deploy it on three different machines. So we can just deploy these services, only one service into three different machine or virtual machine or containers. So this is the approach. Okay, this slide basically help you to understand why and when we choose microservices over monolithic architecture. So first thing to understand is that microservice approach not panacea for all the project. It's not the remedy. It's not a solution for every project. So what the decision we're going to make that we're going to choose microservice approach on our project or on our new project, or maybe the existing project that we're going to, if we're going to maybe migrate or change over. So these are the few points you need to ask question from yourself when you're going to choose microservices. Number one, you are designing enterprise architecture. Number two, your software continuously evolve. Your software need to achieve scalability for each component independently without affecting other components. Your software need to achieve high availability. Your software need to achieve low latency. You need continuous delivery independently without affecting any other functionality. You are design high load transaction application. If you tick all these boxes, yes, then why not go and develop your product on using microservice approach. If not, if one of these boxes is not ticked, so still monolithic is a good idea. It's easy to maintain, it's easy to develop, monolithic maybe more um, cost effective in terms of development, because there's not uh, highly skilled people required to develop monolithic application. Maybe the junior or mid level of developer can do it on their end very easily. They can manage it. Microservices, on other hand, require some specialist people to work with. Uh, in some ways, not easy to develop. Uh, but now after service fabric, it's also very easy. But still, for monolithic architecture, you can see it's very easy, very quick in terms of if we compare to microservices. Okay, now I'm going to show you the demo of quickly show you a small microservice demo to understand how it's work with the service fabric. So let's stay tuned to the next video. Bye.